everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast interview. On today's show, I am excited to have Erin Lomax. She's the VP of Operations on the consumer marketplaces in Cox Automotive, which includes Auto Trader and KBB. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Erin, in case some of our listeners haven't met you before, give us a little background, your experience in consumer data, marketing, execution, marketplaces. As I'm reading your resume, you've done a lot. Give us a little thumbnail of that growth and now your current position at Cox.
Sure. Yes. So I've spent the past 17 years of my career in marketing and advertising overall. I really got my start to my career working on consumer marketing and advertising for small marketing firms and agencies. And I came to Cox about 10 years ago and have had the opportunity to work across many of our consumer and B2B brands. And it's been really exciting. And over the past 5 years, I've shifted from marketing as a career to I'm now in the operations side of the business, leading operations for the business. But it's interesting because it's leading operations for a marketing business. So there's a lot of alignment there, and it's great to be on this side of the business and understanding how our consumer brands and solutions help drive value and engagement and close deals and profitability for our dealers.
Well, I've been watching the Cox Automotive ecosystem really become more tightly integrated, sharing your insights from the massive amounts of data that you collect from the shopping experience on Auto Trader or KBB, also the entire dealer.com network of websites. And we're coming to the close of 2022. It's been a year of uncertainty. We're moving into 2023, where for some brands, new inventory supply is getting better. Others still uncertainty. Dealers are going to have to be more intentional in 2023 in their marketing. Used car prices are coming down. Days on lot are increasing. When you look at next year, Erin, what message would you like to tell dealers to help them, focus on what you see as opportunities and how Cox can help them?
Yes, absolutely. And it has been, a wild couple of years between the pandemic and then the inventory shortage. So I think one of the biggest things that I think about as I think about dealers looking at their marketing strategies into 2023 and planning ahead is it all starts with the consumer at the end of the day. And consumers have complained for years and years about the car buying process, particularly the online to in-store transition, and then the steps that are the most frustrating. And it's so interesting because so many of the most progressive dealers and OEMs have worked so hard to really alleviate the friction from the car buying and selling process with digital retailing tools and e-commerce platforms. And because they've worked so hard to create the right processes with the right technology, there was, a little bit of a belief that consumers would just immediately adopt it. And I think one of the biggest things is that just having digital retailing tools and e-commerce solutions is not enough. It's easy as a dealer to think, if I do all of the things and have all of the right products and solutions and processes, then people are just going to naturally use it and I'm going to sell more cars off of it. Mm-hmm. Yes, you will have, a stronger customer base and more lifetime repeat customers, which is amazing. But at the end of the day, so many consumers, aren't aware that they can buy a car online. And they also, aren't used to purchasing something as big of a car online. So you really have to show them the possibilities. You have to educate them and really get out in front to build awareness. It's in today's world, so much of how we shop is, we do so much shopping online, and more of the experience that we have with brands happens through this online shopping process than the in-store process in general, if you think about your own shopping habits. And so it's really, really important for dealers to think about, what do they want their message to be? How are they showing consumers how they're different, and the ways that consumers can buy a car from them, and what to expect from their brand, well before the dealer even knows that consumer might be shopping for them. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is really just being in front of the consumer and giving them the awareness and the education of everything that your dealership has done to make car buying and selling easier for the consumer.
Erin, that's such a good point. At the Modern Retailing Conference that just finished up, Carrie Sudbrack from Cox and Kevin Fry from the Jeff Weiler organization talked about communicating appropriate messages that meets the needs of today's shopper. And Kevin actually showed some short videos about buying a car online, and start as much as you'd like online, even their trade-in process. And I love the simplicity of those commercials, but yet when I look at the commercials that I see on local television here in Florida, or I see online, many dealers are not talking about their retail experience. And, as we look to 2023, dealers who can communicate that the consumer can shop online with the exact same tools they're going to see in the showroom, I call that connected retailing. I think that is the missing piece. They may think that the website can do some things, but hey, when I get in the store, they're going to be bamboozling me with other things that I didn't even see. And that brings me to the question of 2023 and digital retailing. I've been telling dealers, let's stop calling it digital retailing. Let's focus on connected retailing, making the consumer shopping online and in-store, same look, same feel, having one process. What do you see? NADA's coming around the corner. Cox Automotive has the largest floor plan from all the wonderful companies in the portfolio. But when it comes to modern retailing, what do you see for 2023 at NADA is going to be a hot topic?
Yes, that's an exciting question there. And it's super interesting, because as we think about every other industry, other than automotive and real estate, they've really evolved to enable consumer choice and convenience, right? And in the last few years, both automotive and real estate have surged forward in a significant way. And to your point about digital retailing and digital retailing tools, that it's actually so much bigger than what is considered a digital retailing product today, right? Having those tools or digital retailing tools is no longer an option, right? It's what are the right tools to create that connected retailing experience and deliver that online to in-store experience, right? With the online tools, the consumer experiences, and how that then seamlessly passes to the right tools in a dealer store. And so, so many dealers have been incredibly progressive in testing so many different tools and concepts, and they're really starting to connect the dots on what does work and what doesn't, right? It's been a testing phase. During the pandemic, there was so much shifting and so quickly, and how we serve consumers as an industry shifted drastically, right? So much of what was happening, you had the pandemic, you had the inventory shortage, you have interest rates rising. So many dealers haven't been able to fully take a step back and look at the holistic picture, really connecting the dots and building the right framework and strategy that makes sense for them for today and into the future, right? They were forced to just roll up their sleeves and react to a changing environment. So I really think right now, and as we head into NADA 2023, it's a critical time for dealers to step back and think through what digital retailing and e-commerce mean to their dealership, to their brand, to their marketing, right? How will they enable consumers to transact where and how the consumer wants to? How will they give consumers choice, flexibility, and the ability to save time if they want that? And so, to your point, it doesn't have to be overly complex or take a rocket scientist to figure out and decipher. It needs to make sense based on the foundation of the dealership, and it has to evolve off a model that the dealership and the staff can live with and execute on, right? At the end of the day, the consumer is king. And if you promise a process that doesn't happen, the consumer is not going to be happy with the buying experience. And so the key is figuring out how to deliver consumer choice and flexibility. As I think about what we have coming up with Cox Automotive, we obviously have our Accelerate My Deal product, which is Cox Automotive's digital retailing product that has been out for years, right? And this product effectively moves the shopper journey from online to purchase, creates less work for the dealer, and it saves time for the consumer, right? Which is what consumers ultimately want at the end of the day. And then we recently launched KBB My Wallet, which follows the consumer from car to car and across Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book and some dealer websites, right? And that plugs in directly to Accelerate My Deal, and it gives dealers even more value than before. And then as we look at 2023, there's several exciting enhancements coming up for Accelerate My Deal that just give more flexibility, enable the dealer to work more deals, adding a deal dashboard with real-time updates based on what the consumer is doing. So there's a lot of exciting things around Accelerate, right? As our core digital retailing product that has been out in the market for years and years, and we're continuing to evolve and invest there because it's so important for the consumer experience. But then as we think about, the overall retail experience, it's still fragmented across several technologies and can deliver a poor experience for the consumer at the end of the day. And for years, we've had dealers and OEMs asking us to better integrate our in-store solutions. And so in 2023, we'll introduce Retail 360, which is really a solution that ingests the entire deal flow from all of our separate solutions and creates one deal workflow across all of our products and solutions at Cox Automotive. It ingests making an actionable customer history around the vehicle, the chat, the service information to make better informed deal decisions for the dealer and the consumer. And it can be completely managed and worked, right, in one workflow, not separate systems. So this is what we're really looking forward to at NADA, because at the end of the day, we have to create the right connections for consumers and dealers and make it easy for them to see that deal workflow so that they can deliver that consumer experience.
Erin, I'm so glad to hear that. And dealers who are listening should be contacting their Cox Automotive reps to get a peek at what Retail 360 can do for them. At the Modern Retailing Conference, we talked about the performance lift of dealers who had one single platform online and in the store. And one large dealer group had shared with me that they saw a 30% increase in-store close rates. And every dealer who's listening today understand that a decent volume store to have 30% more people who walked in buy is a significant number. And when I peeled back that onion, it was because the consumer felt in control, as you mentioned. They were able to start their deal online. They were able to see where they left off and pick it up in the store, but then the tools looked the same, felt the same, prices the same. And that has seemed to lessen the defensive nature of consumers who maybe at their last buying experience. So I just want to encourage dealers that if you're using one digital retailing tool and then a different desking and showroom tool, you're leaving millions of dollars on the table. And that's just not hyperbole. This is really what we're finding out, that consumers expect consistency. We use the word transparency. I just want to say consistency. Show me the numbers online. Show me my deal online. Let me see the same deal in the showroom. And it's good to know that Retail 360 will make that possible for Cox Automotive dealers. And that brings me to a data question. Cox Automotive does extensive consumer surveys. If there's a dealer here that says, hey, Brian, yeah, I have Cox Accelerate my deal on my website, but I love my desking tool, or my desk manager loves this desking tool. I'm not going to force him to change. He'll get angry. Even though I've just shared that they could see a 30% increase in in-store close rates, which of course is significant. What else could you share about your consumer insights, whether it's millennials or Gen Z? What are they looking for other than saving time? We all want to save time, making it convenient. What are some other elements of the dealer's process that they should be considering to serve a wider group of consumers?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot in that question, and I think again, it all starts with the consumer and knowing them and having the right data on them so that you are able to get the most quality consumer with the most quality engagement that is more likely to close to a deal, right? And that is one of the things that Cox has worked so hard on, with all of the data that we collect across all of our properties, in order to create the right buying signals and in order to segment consumers. And so one of the big studies that we recently released is our car buying journey study. And at the end of the day, I think this study is important because as we think about what's shifting in the market, right, we have to understand what's going on with the consumer that we know about them. So this year, right, as we did this study, it really wasn't a big surprise when we found out that car buyers were forced to use more sites, right? Because there wasn't a lot of inventory out there. It was harder to find the car that they wanted. So, one example is 79% of purchasers ended up using a third-party site. That's 8 out of 10 shoppers, which is significant. But it's even more important to understand, okay, what's going on with that consumer at the end of the day. And one of the things we found in the most recent study is that they are ready and willing to buy online, and that includes financing online. And so we wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that, and we segmented our in-market shoppers into 2 categories, right? In the study, and one category is efficient independents, and the other category is guided innovators. So, as you look at both of these in-market shopper segments, and what they have in common, they both are motivated by saving time, having ease and convenience. They're both willing to buy a car online. Our research showed the cars they had interest in were electric or hybrid, as well as luxury vehicles. And then they're both ethnically diverse and they both have good credit. So those are just very interesting commonalities we're seeing across the majority of in-market car shoppers today.
Yeah, and Erin, my reason why I asked that is, even though the majority of retail transactions still happen in the showroom, the ability to get more deals started, the ability to connect your brand with an in-market shopper starts with having the right tools, as you mentioned, getting credit pre-approved, seeing what the monthly payment's going to be accurately, to be offering F&I products online that are priced for their particular credit rating. These are all little things that in other areas of retail with online banking, I mean, so many people are using modern banking systems with modern transparency and rates and payments. So for the dealers who are listening to today's podcast, don't miss the point that just because 90% or 85% of the deals are happening in the showroom, what you're missing is that if you're not educating your consumer on the tools, if the tools aren't the same online and in store, if you are not assisting your sales team to adapt modern sales processes, you're just missing an entire segment of the market that could be your customers. And that's why this interview is so important. As Cox readies Retail 360, as their data can help dealers power more accurate marketing campaigns, and then you deliver the right sales process experience, that combination is really important. Erin, dealers always like to hear about other dealers. I mentioned obviously the work with the Weiler Automotive Group, but can you think of another dealer success story that highlights dealers who are using the consumer data insights and targeting that Cox has through the connection of Auto Trader, KBB, and the dealer.com websites, and dealers who are truly embracing connected retailing? Does someone come to mind?
Yes, there's several dealers that come to mind. I can't disclose the names, at this moment, just because I would want to make sure I had their permission, just because we definitely value our customers' privacy. But I mean, I think that there's so many dealers and dealer groups that are really truly leveraging our brands and data to, very similar to the examples that you referenced with Weiler Group, to really deliver their consumer experience that gives them choice and flexibility, as well as, message to them, understand where the consumer is in the buying process. So we have a product that launched last year at NADA that is called Buying Signals. And what this product does is it effectively delivers a lot of the enhanced data we have on the consumer to the dealer, so they can understand if they get a lead from that consumer in their CRM, or they can look at it, in multiple platforms, right? What other cars was that consumer looking at? Where were they shopping for it? What segment are they in? Do we believe they're ready to buy? Do we believe they're casually browsing? Do they have a trade-in? All of this data on the consumer, what is their credit profile? We're able to deliver. And so dealers that are really leveraging that to drive the most quality interactions are some of the most successful dealers. In addition to that, one of the big things through the inventory shortage, and this becomes incredibly important even with inventory coming back, is dealers leveraging our supply demand data to place their cars where there's high demand for it, right? As long as they can ship and sell to that area. But those dealers are becoming incredibly successful at, reaching new consumer segments, selling more cars, growing market share more than they ever thought possible. And I think that the big thing there is, that's likely to become, a significant trend as more and more shopping and buying is happening online. Consumers, yes, likely want to buy from a local dealership, but if they don't have the exact car the consumer wants and the consumer can purchase it online and have it delivered to them and know that they can return it in a certain amount of time, they're going to go outside of their market. And so dealers to having effective strategies of how to reach consumers and where their inventory is most in demand, even beyond their market, to supplement their in-market strategy is critical. And that's been one of our fastest growing segments of customers, I would say, overall. And they're seeing a lot of success there as well. And I wanted to touch on something, because you had really talked about that, if consumers have transparency throughout the process, that they're much happier. Because a study that we recently did showed that mostly digital shoppers, right, which is consumers who will do most of the shopping process online, not fully buy online, are more confident and satisfied with their deal, right? And when it comes to being satisfied with the price they paid, those who only used light digital, meaning used digital shopping and buying for 20% of the process, only 45% of those were satisfied with that, right, with their purchase. However, 2 out of 3 shoppers who were mostly digital, and mostly digital just means that they completed more than 50% of their car shopping process online, said that they felt satisfied with the price they paid, right? And at the end of the day, they were more satisfied because of the transparency that was presented every step of the way. And I think that this is so important because car shoppers are moving towards digital retailing and e-commerce in how they buy cars. And dealers really need to make sure that they've moved a huge part of their focus in marketing to this as well, right? You have to be showing your consumer that you have the solutions that they need every step of the way. And that you have the end-to-end process that they're desiring. And also, understanding the consumer through data like Cox Automotive can provide helps you to even better understand what that consumer wants, so that you're better able to meet their needs. But I think that transparency along the way, driving to higher satisfaction with the buying process, is really, really interesting overall. And I think it's so critical as we think about the future, using the data we have to connect that retailing experience for the consumer and the dealer.
I wanted to bring up something that recently came across my desk, and now 17 years, going on 18 years in automotive marketing, there seems to be waves of people telling dealers, you shouldn't advertise on third-party marketplaces. You should advertise. You shouldn't. It's kind of like centralized BDC. No, break it down. There's these strange cycles. But your research that you did showed that consumers had to go to more sites. I think during this inventory shortage, I've heard more people using marketplace websites like Auto Trader and KBB to find cars, because they go to a dealer's website and there's 4 new cars in stock. They go to another dealer's website and there's 6 new cars. They learn pretty quickly that they're not going to find what they want in an individual dealer's website. And so they go to marketplaces. And by going to marketplace websites, that data can be shared in a data privacy compliant way to help dealers target local consumers who are shopping that never visited their websites. Erin, it surprises me that people, in spite of the clear inventory shortage, the change in behaviors, the rise in searches on marketplace websites, why some people still begrudge the power and the millions of people who go to marketplace websites, as we go to Amazon every day and no one complains about that. What do you think? Is it jealousy? Is it ignorance? Is it some other blind spot? Because I've seen when marketplace data is applied to digital marketing campaigns like creating custom audiences on Facebook or Google, there's a significant lift in engagement. Why do we still have this kind of cyclical love-hate relationship with marketplaces?
That's an interesting question. I think at the end of the day, it comes back to the consumer, and their needs to continue to compare and contrast multiple cars, multiple dealers, and multiple deals, right? And it's what we've been talking about this whole time is that consumers want flexibility, they want choices, right? They want an Amazon experience in pretty much everything they purchase, and that does include cars. So I think it's one of the things at the end of the day is there was a long time where a lot of digital shopping trends applied to every industry other than automotive. And now, that's no longer the case.
Erin, it's so funny. You said a word, it just triggered a visual image. You said consumers like to compare. Chip Perry stood up at MRC and specifically said, as a comment and a conversation, is that dealers hate to be compared. And as I'm hearing it, maybe that's part of it. Maybe dealers hate that their deal isn't priced competitively, and websites like AutoTrader and KBB allow consumers to compare price and features and models like everything else, as you just said. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe the fact that you do provide the tools that consumers want that are normally not on a dealer's website, maybe it's that last bit of stubbornness that they don't want to give consumers exactly everything they need to make a smart decision. Maybe that's part of it.
It could be, but I do think, the majority, at least on our dealer.com websites, the majority of tools that we provide on AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book are also on those dealer.com websites. So you have the transparency across, right? It's just the marketplace websites, as you say, they really pull together the data for the consumer to be able to compare and contrast. And this comes down to consumer needs, right? And it gives them the ease of shopping so that they can understand, the right car, the right dealer for them. And so it's so important to be there, because this is where consumers are shopping. I think the stat I used earlier was that 8 in 10, over the last year have used a third-party website. And this is because there's an unfulfilled consumer need that as an industry we have to fulfill. And at the end of the day, the leads and the deals, at least I can't speak to our competitors, that AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book, are driving. We're driving quality engagements. We're not just driving leads for the sake of leads. We're making sure we're delivering the most quality consumer that we know is going to convert at a much higher rate and be more profitable at the end of the day. And so I think, the majority of our dealer partners are well aware of the close rate and the profitability that our leads provide, as well as how we're using our data and our brands to serve them at the end of the day, right? And it does come down to, how do you leverage this consumer need that consumers have in order to serve our customers? And so to that point, I don't look at, I wouldn't look at marketplaces as a negative. It's really a positive as far as being able to turn around and give dealers the most quality leads and deals that they wouldn't have otherwise had. And it gives them tools to advertise and expand beyond their market. There's so many differentiating factors beyond this that they wouldn't get from their traditional advertising.
Yeah, and Erin, I created a network of larger dealer groups called the CXO network. And at our recent meeting, the topic of third-party marketplaces came up, and somebody had prepared an interesting analysis. And one of the highlights I remember of that report is they looked at the profitability of each deal from different marketplace, so your competitors and including, Auto Trader and KBB. And the one marketing manager said, we have to stop thinking about, volume of leads and look at and not even trying to qualitatively try to figure out what's a quality lead. But it was interesting, Auto Trader leads were by far the most profitable leads net based on the cost to advertise. So I want to encourage dealers who are really looking into their marketing budgets for 2023, don't look at the cost per deal. Cost per lead. Look at the investment and total profitability. And I don't hear too many people talking about that, but it did show the importance of that analysis in understanding the true value of the Auto Trader platform. Erin, as we close out our interview, we've talked about a lot of things. I want to encourage dealers to stop by the NADA complex from Cox Automotive, learn a lot more about Retail 360 and that connected workflow to allow all of the Cox products to work seamlessly together to create that connected retailing experience. Eric, I want to give you one opportunity here to talk to the dealers who may be familiar with dealer.com websites and VIN solutions and your Accelerate My Deal platform. What is one thing you want them to think about as Cox being a better partner to them in 2023? What's one challenge, one message, something that helps them understand why they need to consider or reconsider Cox as their most strategic platform partner in 2023?
Sure. So, as we look at what you referred to as connected retailing, connecting the online and in-store experiences and tools, I think one of the big things is that can be overwhelming to a lot of dealers, right? And right now, I think that's okay. The important part for most dealers is to really acknowledge where they are today, where their consumers are, right? And then try to stair step to get to a fully automated experience across their tools. And so as we think about this, like digital retailing tools and in-store tools will keep expanding and customer needs will continue to evolve, right? And everybody's e-commerce strategy has to start somewhere. And so as we really think about that, I think what that does is it merges these worlds where several dealers previously had separate online and digital retailing strategies that were different from their in-store strategy, and e-commerce was thought of as a totally different path as a whole. And so at the end of the day, it's, as we think about digital retailing, e-commerce, the online experience, and the in-person dealership experience, it has to be connected. Not connecting those is an old school way of doing business. It's no longer, I have DR tools, so I'll automatically sell cars. It's no longer that you can say, I have an e-commerce strategy, and that is good enough. You also can't give a choice to the majority of focus between, do you want to drive someone to the store or do you want to do most of your engagement online? We have to really bridge across the spectrums and give this true omni-channel experience that connects the dots, because consumers are completing so much more of the steps of the purchase online, right? And at the end of the day, some consumers will shift to 100% online, right? But that number that goes to 100% online, where they fully transact online, is still not going to be the majority of consumers, right? So the majority of consumers will go online, will do the majority of the steps and still walk into a dealership. But when they walk into a dealership, they are ready to deal at this point. They've done their research, they have their information, right?
Right.
So
It's the dealer's deal to lose at that point, and that's why the connected experience increases close rates, because it limits those surprises. And Erin, there's so much change and potential queued up for 2023, and I'm going to look forward to seeing how Retail 360 is received at NADA. I'm going to really lean in and talk with some of our shared clients that are embracing connected retailing with the Cox Automotive platform. So next year we can do some interviews with these dealers together and talk about their growing pains and what they experienced as they changed their sales process to be fully connected. For all the dealers who are listening on today's podcast, if this is the first time you've heard one of my podcasts, you should know that there are dozens of interviews with industry leaders, disruptors, and innovators that are available for replay. Don't miss those conversations. And as we get ready for NADA, I'll be highlighting a number of the companies that I believe have exciting product releases at NADA. And this is the first one here with Erin, and my recommendation to get to the Cox Automotive booths and look at Retail 360 with a desire to achieve connected retailing. And Erin, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I look forward to seeing many of you at NADA. And if not, we'll look forward to seeing you in May in Austin, Texas, for the 2023 Digital Marketing Strategies Conference. So many good things coming ahead in 2023. Thanks everyone for listening, and I'll catch you next time on another podcast interview.